Well, March is almost over, and we've got a quick acquisition video to do. We'll be looking at the few items grabbed during February 2022. So without any further ado, right off the bat, or hat, we have some headgear in the form of one of the commercial lizard hats bearing the IDF logo. It seems that a second one popped up online with a slightly different version of the pattern, which was rather interesting. On either side are US 3-color hats, one being a Navy utility cap and the other being a Type 2 patrol cap intended for colder weather. Both of these are getting a tad tougher to find due to the pattern being retired now for close to 20 years. The Type 2 though is perhaps the most interesting, as though it can get cold in the desert at night, it's still always interesting to see something you'd associate with winter and snow printed in a desert design. Keeping the headgear moving are helmets, specifically 2 Bulgarian and 1 Portuguese. The Bulgarians are the M36 Type A and B models, which, aside from their colors in this instance, are different in the bottom of the helmet, with the A seeing a rolled and folded end and B terminating right at the lip. The Portuguese helmet is the M40, which appeared right around the start of World War II. These don't pop up frequently, so the opportunity was jumped on. Next are 3 more helmets, all of which are of East German origin. On the left is an exported Turkish one, which really just saw the addition of the decals on either side, along with a woodland camo helmet cover. The middle one is actually plastic and was used for parades, and the one on the right is an early model, which came with a neat net cover. Now you can see another hat, but actually it's part of a full set of Bulgarian uniforms. On the right is the instantly recognizable UCP, which is Bulgaria's current Air Force pattern, and on the left is a digitized flectarn used primarily by their soldiers. These, along with a third variant, were all part of a recent overhaul of their camouflage patterns. Moving continents, here we have 2 patterns from south of the border from Mexico. The left is the Marines' former woodland camouflage pattern printed onto an M65 style coat. Though there are a few differences, the most interesting one is the fur-like liner that is actually attached to it. On the right is a pretty neat jacket worn by La Gendarmeria Nacional, a specialty federal police unit dedicated to protecting locations vital to the economy. The camo on it is a subtle reworked version of the US Navy's discarded NWU Type 1 pattern. Now, upon initial viewing, you may think these 2 pieces are part of the same uniform. Well, they're not. Yes, they have the same pattern, but they are from 2 different countries. The jacket is from the UAE, or the United Arab Emirates, and is one of the older designs that was worn by the Army, while the pair of pants are actually the early twill version of the US military's DCUs, or Desert Combat Uniform. Naturally, you'd think a heavier twill fabric wouldn't work well in the desert, and you'd be right. Now are some odds and ends, all together with a US base vest for the Interceptor body armor system in a woodland pattern. This was thrown into a box of vests at a shop and bought for about $5, so naturally,
I'd buy that for $1.
plus 4 and tax, obviously. Next is what appears to be a scaled down and slightly modified version of the US Air Force's ABU digital tiger stripe, which was adopted by Pakistan's Air Force. It's got a very interesting look to it, and a top to match is very much needed. Finally, a fun buy comes in the form of this mid-90s British DPM top. Next are 2 sets of what can be called US Marine Corps Marpat clones that come from Bosnia and Herzegovina and China. The Bosnian and Herzegovinian set sees the pattern in an almost direct copy, minus the Marine Corps EGA symbol, and the cut is slightly different, but from a quick glance looks virtually identical. The same cannot be said for the Chinese copy though, which tweaked the shapes and colors a bit. This uniform was seen used by certain forces just prior to the Type 07 being adopted, and has apparently been exported to many other countries for use to varying extents. And finally, to round things off, we have an interesting blue chocolate chip jacket. These have quite an interesting story and will be the topic of an upcoming video, so stay tuned for that. But that will pretty much do it for February 2022. We were a little late to the party, but better late than never. Hopefully this quick bite type video was entertaining and slightly informative. Be sure to subscribe or just check back soon for more videos right here on Uniform History.